Hey y'all, thanks for listening to Killer Queens.
Or KQ if you're nasty.
Welcome to the show where two 90s loving country chicks gab about true crime and tell each other to talk to the hand because the face ain't listening. I'm Torella.
And I'm Tori.
And we're sisters who have always loved true crime and decided to turn that obsession into a show with a light take on the topic.
Kind of like diet true crime, it's all the flavor and fewer calories.
Now with our show, you'll get true crime, 90s nostalgia, and a few four-letter words sprinkled in.
Because I always say that Polly Pockets and true crime go together like peas and carrots.
Be sure to check out our case submission form on our website at killerqueenspodcast.com and follow us on social media and YouTube.
Now grab your Surge, your 3D Cool Ranch Doritos, and your kitten surprise, and let's get into the episode.
This episode contains discussion of drug abuse and possible overdose. Listener discretion is advised.
In the early morning of March 4th, 2022, 33-year-old Kouri Richins called 911 from her home in Camas, Utah. She said that she'd come back into the bedroom she shared with her 39-year-old husband, Eric, to find him cold and unresponsive. First responders arrived, but were unable to revive Eric. The father of three was pronounced dead. His autopsy later revealed that he'd ingested about 5 times the lethal amount of fentanyl. Nobody could believe that Eric had died from a drug overdose. It didn't take long for investigators to zero in on Eric's wife, Kouri. Evidence showed that she'd made significantly poor financial decisions, leaving her in a position that may have led her to commit murder.
All right. Well, we, of course, before we get started, want to give a hey girl thanks to Madison for writing this up.
Yes, thank you.
And I think Madison for requesting it. I don't see any other names on there. So there you have it.
Yeah. Okay.
If you did request it, thanks. All right, so let us get started. Eric Eugene Richins was born on May 13th, 1982 to Gene and Linda Richins in Bountiful, Utah.
I like that.
I really do. His family owned and lived on a cattle ranch, and it didn't take long for Eric's tenacity and affinity for hard work to become apparent. And his obituary reads, quote, at an early age, Eric learned the joys of keeping horses and cows around. He spent countless hours helping his dad work the ranch, hauling hay, feeding the animals, and mending fences. Eric's entire world was focused on his family. He was the oldest of the kids in his family, and he always did his best to guide his younger sisters. Eric was incredibly kind, genuine, and willing to help anyone. And throughout his life, Eric was a competitive athlete. He loved both watching and playing sports like cross country, basketball, baseball, and soccer. As an adult, Eric coached or assisted with his son's sports teams. Those who saw him coach said it was clear that he cared for each child that he coached and had their best interests at heart. He also enjoyed hunting and was described as an excellent archer and marksman. He had traveled across the world for different hunting excursions. Eric was adventurous and outgoing, someone who made everything fun. His obituary read, quote, there was never a dull moment when you were around Eric, whether it be him showing up to a family dinner with no socks or sleeves on his shirt because he had to make an emergency bathroom stop along the way, or his calling to tell you that he rolled the four-wheeler for the umpteenth time, is stuck, and needs you to come get him. Eric had lots of different motorized toys like four-wheelers, lifted trucks, and snowmobiles. His family said that he held the Richins family record for most rolls and collisions of motorized vehicles. Wow. He also had the record for the most stitches received, with 200 from just one accident. That personally is not the kind of record that I would like to have, but
he seems like the definition of like rub some dirt in it.
Yeah. Like, he's like, okay, yeah, but if you didn't get stitches, did it happen though?
Right.
Like, yeah. Another one of Eric's passions was his education. After obtaining a bachelor's degree from the University of Utah in International Studies and a minor in Spanish, Eric went on to build an extremely successful stonework business. Not only did he have an incredible business sense, he had the ability to build and harbor relationships with those he worked with. He knew how to foster relationships and and be someone that those in his life, whether business related or personal, could always count on. Quote, Eric loved fully, laughed loudly, and lived life with reckless abandon. He enjoyed great adventures to far off places, but also cherished the small and finer things in life, like his Under Armour sweatsuits and spending time with family and friends. No obstacle was too great for him. He simply viewed each one as a challenge. No peaks were too high, and the next adventure was always just around the next bend. Eric's first marriage unfortunately ended in divorce, so he was really excited. What?
He said, unfortunately ended in divorced, so...
No.
That's not the right tense.
I'm choosing to not believe you. I just am choosing to not believe you. That did not happen.
All right. You can live in delusional land if you want to, but...
It ended in... And they're divorced.
Yes.
So, yeah, ended in divorced. Okay. Anyway, he was really excited when he met Kouri Darden. So Kouri at this time was a cashier at Home Depot in Park City, Utah, and Eric was in the store all the time because he had a masonry business. One of Kouri's coworkers remembered Kouri being sweet, sociable, and bubbly, and she was always getting attention from men in the store. But when Eric came in, it seemed different. His employees would come in and joke with Kouri about how Eric had a crush on her. And it was kind of evident to everyone around them there was some attraction there, right?
It sounds cute. And I want it to stay cute.
I know. So eventually Eric worked up the courage. He asked for Kouri's phone number and they started dating and they immediately fell in love. In July of 2012, Kouri gave birth to the couple's first son, Carter. And then almost a year later, in June of 2013, Eric and Kouri got married in a ceremony in the backyard of their beautiful home. In the next several years that followed, the couple had 2 more boys, Ashton and Weston. And it really seemed like the Richins were living a perfect life. Eric's masonry business was thriving. There were no signs of it slowing down. And this is a business where we're going to talk about it. It's not, I mean, no shade to any other type of business or anything like that. This man was making money. Okay. This man was, he was beyond successful when he met Kouri.
A lucrative business.
Yes, a very lucrative business. She could not, I mean, if you are in a financial position where you are a cashier at a Home Depot, which again, there is absolutely no shade at that. But then this man walks in and you marry him, your financial situation has just changed
drastically.
It's life-changing money that this man has. Okay. So like, she's living a fucking fairy tale right now, you know? And then on top of that, she wanted to have her own business. So she hired a nanny to take care of the boys, which not a ton of people have that ability, right?
Right.
She gets into the real estate business. She starts flipping houses and selling them. And really, what is there at this point that's going to indicate that something so terrible is about to happen?
Right. I mean, it seems like just the perfect life, right?
Yep. But, you know, how many times have we heard that, you know?
Right.
From the outside.
They were the perfect family.
Yeah.
Or were they? And it's,
yeah, exactly. Like, there's always something.
Yeah. Just around the river bend, man. Shortly after 3 a.m., when I went a little Forrest Gump on that one. I don't know. Jenny. Try that again. Shortly after 3 a.m. on March 4th, 2022, a 911 call came into Summit County EMS. It was 33-year-old Kouri Richins, and she said that she'd found her husband unresponsive in their bed and was cold to the touch. The call taker instructed Kouri to get Eric off of the bed onto the floor and then had her start CPR. When first responders arrived, they found Eric on the bedroom floor. Unfortunately, Eric was beyond help, and 39-year-old Eric was pronounced dead at his home. Sheriff's deputies had Kouri write down everything that she remembered about the night before. She said that they had put the kids down for bed around 9 p.m. Then she and Eric had a drink to celebrate a new business venture for Kouri. Remember that. She said specifically that her husband had a Moscow Mule to drink. Then they went to bed around 9:30 or 9:45 p.m. So shortly after they went to bed, Kouri said that she got up because one of the boys was having a nightmare. She said that she fell asleep in her son's bed. When Kouri came back into her bedroom around 3 a.m., She told deputies that she got into bed, snuggled up to Eric, and she noticed that he was very cold, so she put a blanket on him and nudged him, but he didn't respond. Kouri said that something felt strange, and then she noticed that Eric was unresponsive, so she called 911. Eric's family was absolutely stunned. Why had a seemingly healthy young man died suddenly in his sleep? It just did not make any sense. He didn't use illicit drugs. He had no significant health concerns. Kouri said that sometimes Eric would take a THC gummy before bed to help him sleep, but she wasn't sure if he had done that night. A friend who saw Eric the day before he died said that nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Rumors started circulating around town, some saying that Eric had died peacefully in his sleep or that he had suffered from a brain aneurysm. This is like a whole new version of like the telephone game or something. Like just rumors getting started.
Right. Like, what? I guess if you don't know the situation and you see like probably on Facebook, this person passed away unexpectedly.
Right.
Your mind is going to be like, golly, was it a car accident? Was it a brain injury? Like what would make this happen? But what a rumor mill.
I know. Crazy. His ultimate cause of death was found to be from a fentanyl overdose. His autopsy and tox screen results showed that he had orally ingested 5 times the lethal dosage of fentanyl. A warrant obtained by investigators to search the Richins' home revealed absolutely no evidence of drug use. No one seemed to be able to comprehend what happened to Eric, and the community sympathized with Kouri, who had become a single mother to 3 young boys overnight. Poor Kouri.
Poor Kouri. On April 6th, 2023, just a year over Eric's death, Kouri appeared on a morning talk show, Good Things, Utah. She explained to the 2 hosts about how her husband had passed away unexpectedly about a year before this, and she and her boys, aged 10, 9, and 6, had to learn how to grieve and cope with this loss. So in their efforts to come to terms with Eric's death, Kouri said that she and her sons wrote a children's book called Are You With Me? She said the book was intended to help other children process their emotions when dealing with similar circumstances. And one thing that she specifically said too was like, I was trying to find resources to help my kids through this. And there was just nothing out there that I felt like we needed. So I created it myself.
Erroneous.
This is 2022, dude.
Yeah. There's
resources.
Yes.
And obviously you can't get this book anymore because
I know, because of reasons.
We're talking about it here.
I'm intrigued.
But I've read the synopsis of it because you can see like pictures of like the front and the back of the book.
Well, yeah, it's still on Goodreads. You can't purchase it, but you can get the summary or the synopsis of it.
That synopsis is a run-on sentence extraordinaire. This is not well written.
No. Well, Kouri wrote it.
Exactly. And she's not very, if you watch this interview, the way that she says stuff, like she says, my husband died unexpectedly, about a year ago. And my boys and we were just taken by shock.
By shock. I can't with that. Yeah.
I could not with taken by shock.
Well,
also, I was like, is she not going to brush her fucking hair before this thing? Like, she looked like she dropped her kids off at school, like however she was going to normally do that, and then fucking rolled into this news station.
And she kept her jacket on the entire time. And she seemed so detached. It was very cold.
And it was an outerwear jacket. It wasn't like a blazer. It was like a jacket you'd put on to go outside.
Like a bomber jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very unprofessional.
Very much so.
I thought it was really weird. Kouri explained the 3 C's that they use to deal with grief, though: connection, continuity, and care. And she said that she did her best to encourage her boys that just because Eric wasn't physically there anymore, it doesn't mean that his presence isn't there with you. After her interview, Kouri was speaking off camera with one of the hosts, and she told the host that she actually thought Eric had died from COVID, specifically from lung issues. Okay. And the host also thought, like, okay, people normally take their fucking jackets off when they're going to sit down for this interview. So that was kind of weird. And she was also really, really, really emotionless, like you said. Like, it was just really detached. They specifically used the word emotionless. Like, it just seemed strange, especially it having only been a year. And again, we know everybody grieves differently and all of these things. But
also, you have to think about what she's there to talk about. She's there to talk about a book that she wrote to help her get over the grief and loss, especially for her kids, but for her too.
Mm-hmm.
But she's has no emotion.
Yes. Exactly. And it's a tribute to this now passed away husband and all. Yeah. And is he still there? Is he watching us from heaven? And like, if you look at the book, it's, Are You With Me? There's a little boy, on a soccer field?
I think it is, yeah.
I think, and he's like kicking a soccer ball. And Eric.
Mm-hmm. He's above a cloud or coming out of a cloud, yes.
Yeah, coming out of a cloud, and he's like cheering on the kid with the wings.
Yeah.
His angel wings. Like, it's real fucking specific. And they even have like a family picture in the back of it. They have the on the back of the book, like inside the back thing is the family picture, I think. On the actual back of the book, there's the drawing of all of them. It's like you're looking at them from behind and they're sitting, like looking out or whatever. Like you can see them all sitting in a line, and it has their names under each of them. Eric is right there in the middle, his big angel wings. He's got his arm around Kouri, and then it's got the 3 kids' names around that.
Yeah.
No emotion.
Anyway.
And it struck them as odd.
Well, at the very least, I would think if she had a publishing company or whatever, an agent, they would probably be like, this is not a good look. Like, you need to have a little bit of emotion if you're just from a selling standpoint.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And please don't use phrases like took us by shock.
Took us by shock. So at the very, very least, that's maybe what I would think a team would be like, girl, you got to put some emotion in this. But where I'm coming, I think everybody, there's the consensus, average consensus is that bitch didn't care.
Yeah. Yeah. So then after this, the morning show staff started getting emails. And the subject line of the first email was the title of Kouri's book. And the email message read in all capital letters with multiple exclamation points, "You know she killed her husband." And the sender was anonymous. The host was like, I mean, what? Okay, I don't know. Like, I'm sure they get stuff all the time, somebody mad at them having a guest or something like that. People get real mad about some things you wouldn't think they'd get mad about. So she didn't really think that much of it. But then a week later, one of the hosts gets another anonymous message, and this time it's on Facebook. And the profile that sent the message had no identifying information, no pictures, no nothing. But the message said they need to investigate the children's book author and asked if they knew that she was a suspect in her husband's death. And they were like, I'm sorry, what? So on May 8th, 2023, Kouri was arrested and charged with 3 counts of possession of drugs with intent to distribute and for the aggravated murder of her husband. So Kouri is out here trying to play the part of the grieving widow. And while she's out there doing what she does, investigators were building their case against her.
Well. During the investigation, detectives found several inconsistencies with Kouri's story, as well as a string of odd behavior that increased their suspicions. They found that the Richins family was living very, very comfortably, like we talked about. I mean, their financial situation was great. They were living comfortably. I'll say that. They owned many expensive things. They took lots of vacations, while Eric's business was continuing to be lucrative, earning a reported $1 million annually. Dang. A lot of money. Oh. Kouri's house flipping business was doing the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm. It was like losing $1 million annually.
Right.
At least.
Mm-hmm. Alec and Taryn Wright purchased a home from Kouri's realty company in 2020, thinking that they'd found the home that they'd raised their children in. The 2,000 square foot home soon turned out to be a nightmare. After moving in, the family began getting sick more and more often. Taryn was pregnant and she was in and out of the hospital. Their daughter developed asthma and started having joint pain. Then their son suddenly started failing in school and it didn't seem like he could retain any information. So one day, Taryn pulls her son's dresser away from the wall and found a puddle of water with mold. They found mold growing out of the walls. Testing revealed that the house had dangerously high levels of mold and the family had to leave immediately. Now, I have heard, because I watch a lot of forensic files. I mean, a lot. Mm-hmm. And there have been a couple episodes about mold specifically. But this woman bought this house, beautiful house. It was like her dream home. Waited and waited and waited for it to like come up on the market. Got it. It was infested with, can you say it's infested? Riddled with mold. And now it's condemned. Nobody can even go in there to clean it out. You'd have to like knock it all down and start over.
Oh my God.
I know. That's how bad mold is.
Yeah.
Or can be.
Yeah.
The man who sold the house to Kouri said that he'd informed her that the house would need repairs following significant water damage. And he recalled that when he showed her the home, she didn't seem concerned about the damage. So when the Wrights were shown the home, they said that Kouri didn't mention anything about mold issues.
I mean, there should be some charges with that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
this woman could have lost her baby. These kids, you can have really, really severe.
Definitely. Yes. Like, she should have her license taken away or 100%. Suspended or something, right?
Yeah.
Forced to abandon their home and with reportedly no help from Kouri, the Wrights felt like their last option was to file a lawsuit against her and her realty company. Their civil lawsuit, which was filed about 6 months before Eric's death, alleged breach of contract and fraud. Financial investigators found that Kouri had been using Eric's personal and business funds, as well as running up credit cards on his account. What a total jerk. Methinks that's a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. 6 months before his death.
Mm-hmm.
Which she had nothing to do with, by the
way. She'd also used a fraudulent power of attorney to take out a $250,000 line of credit using their home as collateral. She'd even taken out multiple life insurance policies in Eric's name without his knowledge. That's what we in the biz call motive.
Mm-hmm. And her attorneys are like, what a ridiculous, this doesn't count as motive. That doesn't even make sense.
I mean, that is textbook
yeah.
Yeah. That's motive 101.
Like, I understand as a defense attorney, you've got to make a defense, but like, you can't be so delusional as to think that this is not fucking motive for murder.
No.
She had a lawsuit filed against her 6 months before he dies.
Mm-hmm.
Then the forensic accountant who's investigating for this lawsuit finds all of these other charges that she's run up in Eric's name
that he has no idea about,
that he doesn't know about. And then furthermore, we've got multiple life insurance policies that Eric doesn't know about either.
Right.
And they totaled like over $2 million.
Uh-huh. And she's in a position where she needs a lot of money.
Which just so happens to be the amount of money that she is in debt.
Uh-huh.
The exact amount of money that she's in debt, almost.
Yeah. She took out the life insurance policies, the cash out, or whatever we call it, the payout is the exact amount that she needs.
Yep.
I mean,
come on.
Yeah, you don't have to be a friggin' rocket scientist.
Yeah.
Additionally, the celebration that Kouri said she and Eric were having the night before he died likely was not even a celebration. A huge source of contention between Kouri and Eric had been over an unfinished 20,000 square foot mansion on 10 acres at the base of the Wasatch Mountains. Kouri wanted to flip the house, but it would cost millions.
Yeah. And it was like $2 million to buy this.
Yeah.
And then, like, it wasn't just like, oh, it needs a new coat of paint or anything.
Right.
It was like,
it wasn't even like, let's gut the kitchen and redo it. It was like,
there was no kitchen.
No.
There was no, like, the whole, and that's 22,000 fucking square feet.
Right.
Of nothing. That you got to do. That's going to cost so much money.
Well, yeah. And guess what, Kouri? We're not playing The Sims. You can't just rosebud your way out of this.
Exactly. Like, Eric was like, this is not a good purchase for us right now.
No.
And she was like, oh, yes, the fuck it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Eric was like, this is not financially responsible. No, we do not need to do this. And Kouri was like, boom, bought it.
Yep, bought it.
And she even met with a notary the day after Eric's death to finalize that purchase. Like, that's a slap in his face.
Mm-hmm.
In early March of 2022, just a few days after Eric's death, Kouri called a local locksmith to open a safe that Eric kept in their garage. But one of Eric's sisters, Amy, was there and told Kouri she had absolutely no right to open Eric's safe, that she didn't even have a right to anything involving Eric's estate. And Amy said that Kouri hit her in the face, enraged at what she was saying to her.
Mhm.
Despite Kouri's insistence, Amy was right. The financial investigators found that in September of 2020, Eric's bank and credit card funds were frozen because Kouri had misused them. And after that, Eric met with a lawyer to draft a new estate plan to ensure that his boys were taken care of. Because obviously Kouri's not worried about the boys at all.
Nope.
Eric's lawyer said that Eric was insistent that Kouri did not find out what he was doing and that if he needed to get in touch with him, he needed to go through his sister Katie. And he also put Katie in charge of his estate.
Mm-hmm. And he put all of his assets would be in a trust.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would go to his boys so that Kouri
could not touch
it would not flow through Kouri.
Right.
Exactly. Because she would just
keep it for herself, spend it on whatever she needed.
Yeah.
Yes. Eric's family said that he'd told them if something happened to him, Kouri was to blame. How many times have we heard that? It's like they are solving their own murder before it even happens.
And it's so sad, too, that, like, you have to be like, okay, well, just so you know, if something happens to me, it was her.
Yeah.
Like, you can't trust your living your life.
I know.
In fear. Like, what if they do something to me?
Well, yeah, you're waiting for the shoe to drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. The family told investigators that years ago, when the couple had traveled to Greece, Eric had gotten extremely sick after drinking something that Kouri had given him. They reported that he told one of his sisters that he thought Kouri had tried to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the only time. On Valentine's Day of 2022, less than a month before Eric's death, he'd gotten extremely ill again after eating dinner at home with Kouri. And he told a friend afterwards that he thought his wife was trying to poison him.
And she made him this sandwich and put like a little love note with it. And it was supposed to be like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. Here's this like special sandwich I made for you. And he immediately had trouble breathing, like 2 bites in. He couldn't breathe. He broke out in hives. He was freaking out. He was in his truck at the time. I think he was at work. He, thank goodness, had his son's EpiPen in the truck and shot himself, took some Benadryl and passed out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty fucking clear. He wasn't eating anything else. He wasn't doing anything else.
Right.
The sandwich came from her. She hand delivered that to him.
Right. And
with
then
a love note.
Directly after the 2 bites that he got down, this is what happens.
What a dumb bitch.
I know. And also, like, we have talked about...
I'm sorry.
No, yes. Women who murder, I think the most common way of either dying by suicide or murder is poison for women. And not only that, and that doesn't, you can't try somebody and convict somebody with just that, right? But she's tried to do it thrice now.
Mm-hmm.
Only one successful attempt, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's got all this financial woes that he presumably either doesn't know about or just found out about. Mm-hmm. And she's taken, like, all of these things are big red, not even flags. It's like a billboard.
Yeah. And she had also had this really lengthy call with the IRS, like in the days before Eric's death, I believe, because she was like not doing her taxes properly and got fucking caught for that too.
I mean, it's like,
Kouri, if you're gonna like fucking get away with any of these financial crimes, do better.
Right. Like, how transparent can you be?
Yeah.
It's like when kids try to hide and they just cover their faces. Like, bitch, do you know I can see you right now?
I can see you.
Eric's family told investigators that they believed Kouri poisoned Eric that night by putting fentanyl into his Moscow Mule. With no evidence of drugs in the house, detectives searched Kouri's phone records to figure out where the drugs might have come from. They found deleted texts between Kouri and a woman who used to clean houses for her. The woman had a history with drug abuse and drug distribution, and court documents later showed that Kouri asked this woman if she could get some, quote, pain medication for an investor who had a back injury. Why didn't this investor get his own damn back injury medicine? But
right.
The woman bought hydrocodone pills and left them in one of the houses that Kouri owned, and she said that Kouri left cash in return. A few weeks later, the document stated Kouri asked the woman if she could get anything stronger, this time asking specifically for fentanyl, and Kouri paid $900 for 15 to 30 fentanyl pills. This was reportedly 3 days before Valentine's Day of 2022. 2 weeks after this, the woman stated that Kouri asked her for $900 worth of fentanyl again, and the woman left the pills in a fire pit of one of the homes that Kouri owned, where Kouri left the cash for her. Also found on Kouri's phone were indications that showed that she was moving around on the night or morning of Eric's death, during the time that she claimed she was sleeping in her son's bed.
Mm-hmm. And she also said, I specifically told them,
I plugged my phone in.
Yeah, I left my phone plugged in next to the bed where Eric was sleeping. And then they find that she's
unlocked her phone, texting people, using it this entire time.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary that they can know that stuff.
I know, yeah. I mean, it can be beneficial in situations like this, but also it is kind of crazy. But also if they're going through Kouri's phone, surely to God, they've gone through Eric's phone as well.
Yeah.
So the only place that you've got evidence of fentanyl being bought is Kouri's phone.
Mm-hmm.
There's no evidence of that
in Eric's phone,
in any of Eric's communications that we know of.
Right. And yeah, I am a very big advocate of look up all that shit and know everybody's every move if you're a criminal. And it's going to help take you down in a murder investigation. But for moi, mind your business. Anyway. About 2 weeks after her television interview, Kouri sent an email to detectives with intention of clarifying things that she felt had been misunderstood. She explained the allegations about the, quote, issues with her real estate company by writing, quote, Eric wanted us to live the typical conservative life where the man takes care of his family and the wife is a homemaker, wife, mom, and that's it. That is not my personality and not the way I was raised. I wanted to be more.
But that's also not true.
No!
He
encouraged her.
He was supportive of this. And Eric was also a member of the LDS church.
Mm-hmm.
And I know sometimes that can be more of a conservative, I don't know, view or whatever, but he was very supportive of her having her own business.
Well, absolutely. And I'm not making a religious judgment about his, where he falls on the spectrum of how religious or what he believed or whatever. But he had a divorce before. So I would think that he might have been more on the open-minded side,
progressive
of LDS.
side. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that also might explain why, because I've seen a lot of people be like, well, why wouldn't he have left her? Because he thought she was trying to kill him. But that also might, and this marriage, he had kids, 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it a little bit harder, I would imagine.
Sure.
He didn't have kids with his first wife and all that. I mean, we've covered several cases that involve the LDS community, and we have learned over those cases that marriage is very, very, yes, very sacred for them. They believe that you are not only bound together in life, but in your afterlife as well. And they really, really do try to do anything to avoid a divorce.
Right.
To the point that it can be dangerous and detrimental to people staying in a relationship. But that is very, very important to them. So that could have been something that, he was thinking about. But no, everything indicates that he was supportive of her. But here now she's going to use his religion to throw him under the bus and say, well, he was conservative and he wanted me to be just a wife and a mother. And that was just not me.
Okay, well,
no.
Yeah, we have a lot of proof to say the exact opposite. Yeah. So
what he didn't support was you spending another $2 million and then having to sink multiple millions of dollars into that house to fix it up, not make the money back that you spent on that while you're already $2 million in debt at this point.
Exactly. Yes. So in her email, she denied that the couple had any financial problems ever. She wrote, quote, "No, Eric and I did not have financial problems ever. Yes, Eric made more money than me. Do you make more money than your wives? Have I ever been financially reliant on Eric in the last 5 years? Absolutely not."
This is actually hilarious to me that she says this, because now her defense team is putting out the narrative that actually Kouri killing Eric would not have made financial sense for her. He made so much money. His business was so successful that it actually is
a hindrance to
is
her.
a hindrance to her now that he's dead. He would be worth so much more to her alive because of the funds that business provides.
But
here she
she's
says,
never
I'm
been
not financially reliant on him.
Yeah.
Nope, I don't need him.
Which is it, Kouri? She also accused her late husband of having an affair. She said that she, quote, moved out for a weekend just to make Eric understand that she was serious about leaving him if he didn't end the affair.
Okay, she was actually having an affair, but that's fine. Allegedly.
Right. Well, I mean, what do guilty consciences do?
Mm-hmm.
She also said that Eric changed the woman's name in his phone so she wouldn't know about it. And Kouri said that the two went to counseling, but just attended a few sessions, explaining that it, quote, wasn't for us. Kouri explained, quote, allegations of her taking, quote, lavish vacations after Eric's death. She said that in October of 2022, she took her boys to Spain following an invitation for them to play at a Spanish soccer camp and included their invitation letters. She also said that their family used to go to Mexico every year and that in August of 2022, she took her boys and her mother to Mexico on a trip. She concluded the letter with, quote, happy to clarify or provide anything else you may need. I just want this over. I just want our lives back and to move on and grieve and mourn my husband without looking over my shoulder constantly for you guys or the idiotic private investigator or the Richins family. Whatever I can do to help close this out, just ask. I'll give you and tell you whatever you want to know. 2 weeks later, Kouri was arrested and charged with her husband's murder.
All right. So on June 12th, 2023.
So sorry. I'm thinking if she had just used better punctuation for this letter, maybe things would have turned out a little bit differently for I can't say with certainty, but
it could not have hurt.
No.
She loves a run-on sentence. She really does.
And a lot of commas.
Like a lot of commas.
She knows punctuation. She knows what it is. She just, yeah.
Allegedly.
Okay. Well, true.
Yeah. On June 12th, 2023, just a few weeks after her arrest, a bail hearing was held to determine whether Kouri would be able to post bail or if she would have to stay in jail until her trial. The prosecutor called witnesses to show that there was substantial evidence to support the murder charge. They alleged that Kouri's motive for Eric's murder was simple, and that's money. A forensic accountant who'd investigated the Richins' finances said that by the end of 2021, Kouri owed more than $4 million to lenders and was $22,000 overdrawn on her accounts.
Jesus, that's a lot of money.
She'd been counting on the $1.3 million from Eric's life insurance, as well as millions more from his estate. Now, what she did not know is that he had removed her from his will. And Kouri had to sign a prenup before the two were married. This man had means. Kouri did not. And again, I am not knocking anyone who works at Home Depot. Those are two different financial brackets.
Sure.
And he'd already been through one divorce. So he had a prenup.
Yeah. Smart. Shit, if I ever got married again, which who knows, but if I did, I would fucking do a prenup. It just makes it easier because it's insurance. You just never know.
Yeah, I have literally every attorney I've ever heard talk on it. You know, it's like you see some of those videos that here's 5 things I'd tell people as an attorney or blah, blah, blah. Every single one of them says, get a prenup, get a prenup, get a prenup, get a prenup.
Yes,
just do it.
It makes it so much easier, honestly.
Yeah. And he did, and she agreed to it, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is that the prenup, she wasn't going to get what she wanted out of this estate should they get a divorce, because the prenup guaranteed that it was going to allow him to keep anything that I don't know the details of the prenup, but it would allow him to keep anything that he'd made before they were together. Right. So she wouldn't get nearly as much. However, the prenup stated that if he died during their marriage, she'd get a lot more. Curious that he'd recently visited a divorce attorney.
And then he ends up dead, right?
And he changes his will and does all these things. And she didn't know that part. But yeah, it obviously was in a bad position if he was visiting a divorce attorney. Yeah. And he happens to die during their marriage, which is just so happens to be the one way that she can get money from this person. Suspicious searches on Kouri's phone were brought up in the hearing as well. She had Googled the following. Quote, can cops force you to do a lie detector test? About what? Quote, when does the FBI get involved in a case? What kind of case, Kouri? Which kind? Here's my favorite. Luxury prisons for the rich in America. Why are you going to jail? What you going to jail for?
But luxury prisons? Is that
For the
a thing?
rich.
For the rich. As far as I'm concerned, well, I don't know. People, it's a conspiracy. Jeffrey Epstein, is he still alive? Is he not? I don't know. But I don't think he was in, like, Malibu
like a
prison.
regular old
yeah.
thing, wasn't he?
And he was, like, pretty rich.
Exactly. Okay, so like we said, Kouri's defense team argued there's no proof that the woman who, quote, allegedly sold Kouri drugs actually ever sold her drugs. Okay. But that same drug that she bought, and there's record of those, like, yeah, she paid in cash, but we've got the text messages going back and forth. She specifically said, that hydrocodone wasn't strong enough. Give me the Michael Jackson stuff.
Yeah, which is
and then she specifically
propofol, but it's, yeah.
Why is fentanyl? Why does everybody? Did he even have fentanyl in his system?
I don't think he did.
Like, I have always thought fentanyl was the Michael Jackson stuff too. Like,
I knew it wasn't fentanyl, but I didn't know what it was. But I learned recently.
Like, when I first started hearing about fentanyl, like when it became a really big thing, I was like, somehow I got it connected in my brain to Michael Jackson too, but it's not.
Mm-mm.
But then she does specifically say, because that would be a field day for a defense attorney. Right. Well, she said Michael Jackson stuff, and Michael Jackson actually died from propofol, but she doesn't stop there. Then she says, I'm talking about fentanyl. I want fentanyl.
Right.
So you have transactions or text
receipts
messages, asking for fentanyl, confirming that you've gotten the fentanyl, all of these things. Then your husband dies of 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his system.
Right.
Which also probably would have happened before she even left that bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would have happened directly in front of her because she gives him the Moscow Mule while he's sitting in bed, which why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you guys are celebrating, wouldn't you be doing that, like, in the kitchen at the table? I don't know. It's just not normal that you mix a drink and then go lay in bed to drink it, I don't think.
I wouldn't think, yeah.
Okay. But that amount of fentanyl in his system that quickly is going to pretty much immediately kill him.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very, very, very lethal substance. So...
And for him to have, when she came back into the bedroom, for him to already be cold, that did not take, like...
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it happened a long time before that because you don't just immediately go cold.
Yeah. And she says it takes a while before she has to go out into her son's bedroom. So that man was dead before she... And none of that probably happened. The night terror probably didn't happen. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, the timing doesn't fucking work out. But, then they say, also the motive is just doesn't make any sense. Because Kouri is now in a financially worse position with Eric dead. He'd have the business if he was still alive.
No. Okay. Yes, that's true. He would have the business if he was still alive. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But would he be funding anything for Kouri?
Exactly.
No.
Because they would eventually be divorced.
Yeah. Exactly. And in her mind, if Eric is dead, mm-hmm. that is guaranteed money. If Eric mm-hmm. is alive, she's losing it.
Yep. Exactly. They also said being bad with money doesn't make you a murderer.
Oh, no, that's not what I don't think anybody said that.
Mm-mm.
All of the other things.
I never killed anybody.
Killing,
mm-hmm.
well, that's true. Killing someone makes you a murderer.
That's the part, though.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
One of the state's witnesses was Amy, which is Eric's sister, and she told the court about how she was afraid of Kouri, the physical altercation that had taken place when, remember, she told Kouri, you can't open Eric's safe, all that stuff. Amy was adamant about the fact that if Kouri were released on bail, she wouldn't only be scared for her own life, she would also be scared for the lives of Eric's 3 children. Want to know why? They have now found a bunch of life insurance policies that Kouri took out on her kids. It's fairly unusual to have life insurance policies on your children, your young children.
Young children, yes, exactly. That don't have a terminal illness or, right. You're not going on a very dangerous trip soon or something. I don't know.
Exactly. And she was in the process of working on her sequel to the book Are You With Me? Called Mom, How Far Away Is Heaven?
Ooh.
But anyway, she also talked about other books that she was going to write in the series after that. One about processing grief if you lose a sibling.
Shut up.
And she has multiple life insurance policies on her children.
Right. Well, and I feel like Kouri allegedly writes books from personal experience. You know what I mean? Like she creates the situation and then she's going to write a book about it. Allegedly.
Mm-hmm. After 3.5 hours, the judge ruled in the state's favor. Kouri would not be granted bail. In August of 2023, it was announced that the prosecution would not be seeking the death penalty. And, they talked to Eric's family and kind of came to that conclusion together. In September of 2023, though, evidence was found that led Kouri to be accused of witness tampering. Kouri had been given, allegedly, the wrong medication at the Summit County Jail and had a seizure. Sources said this was the 6th time that she was given the wrong medication. Is that even fucking possible?
I would think not. Once, maybe. Twice.
So, right. That's very strange, right? So the prison decides to search her cell, which I'm assuming they're searching for some kind of substance that's causing these,
seizures.
Like, are you hiding something that you've got in there? Because, like, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
Well, they find a 6-page handwritten letter addressed to Kouri's mother. This is referred to as the walk the dog letter because Kouri wrote in the top across the page, walk the dog, like in all caps, exclamation points. And then she writes like in parentheses, like, but take vague notes so you can remember. This letter, I kind of want to read. I want to read a lot of the letter. I'm going to be honest, because it is the just fucking bonkers banana pants. I don't know. Okay. So she says, page 1, Sky is her defense attorney. Even if the gummies, so
the THC gummies, right?
Yeah, the THC gummies. Even if the gummies have fentanyl in them,
they don't.
Can you buy fentanyl gummies?
Highly doubt it.
I highly doubt that. The prosecutor will say, I tried to put the fentanyl in the gummies. So Eric would have them. Stupid, I know, but that's what she's thinking. We will still test them, though. However, she wants to link Eric getting drugs and pills from Mexico. So we need some kind of connection. Does this not sound like let's create a situation here? Let's create a link where there is not one.
So we need some kind of connection. Hello.
We need to create this. Yeah. Her private investigator is doing some research on the ranch/cartel place Eric would stay at.
What? Shut up.
Cartel I thought she said place? Mexico was they would all go on family trips. If he was going for work at what was he's involved with a drug cartel? Is that what you're
That's what she's saying. Or that's what she's
because cartel is not
that's the narrative.
It doesn't mean anything other than drugs, right? Like
that's what I don't know. That's what I thought. I've only heard it used in that sense other than the band.
Yeah. Well,
good band.
That band, yeah. So she says, here's what I'm thinking, but we have to talk to Ronnie. That's her brother. He would probably have to testify to this, but it's super short, not a lot to it. No worries, right? Testifying on the stand, whether or not something's true is not that hard because the only thing that the prosecutor can do is ask you the question. And they'll be like, well, not a lot to that. All right, get off the stand. No, they're going to fucking eviscerate the shit out of him.
And also, that's fucking perjury.
100%. Yeah, exactly. Not a lot to it. He will need to tell Sky at the meeting next week. Well, that sounds directly related to this case, does it not?
Yeah.
Upon information and belief, just like they say, and this is a something that is used in cases. It's like a legal terminology where it's like you are under the assumption or under the belief of something, so it protects the person who is telling the story against perjury or something like that, because it's like, well, that's what I was under the impression of, I think, kind of thing.
Okay.
So she's using, what's important about this is she's using a legal term that applies to her case, that applies to testimony in her case, and talking about a meeting with her. She's talking about her lawyer, her actual lawyer, and talking about a meeting with her lawyer the next week and how her brother and her mother are going to just Because just wait. Okay.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
A year prior to Eric's death, Ronnie was over watching football one Sunday, and Eric and Ronnie were chatting about Eric's Mexico trips. Eric told Ronnie he gets pain pills and fentanyl from Mexico from the workers at the ranch, and not to tell me because I would get mad, because I always said he gets high every night and won't help take care of the kids. Quote, there are pictures in my phone of Eric passed out on the floor or in the chair. Ronnie should have texts from Eric talking about getting high as well. Somehow I don't believe they're going to find these texts. I'm very interested to see, does Ronnie in fact have these texts? Because everyone else in Eric's life is like, no, he did not have a drug problem. Like,
right.
I don't think so. Can you hide it? Yes. I would be interested to see this.
This is reminiscent of, and I know it's not the same, but it's reminiscent of the Depp Heard, because Amber Heard took every opportunity she could to take a picture and be like, see, you see though?
Yep. Eric told Ronnie he keeps them in an allergy pill bottle in his work truck so I wouldn't find them. Ronnie never told me about the conversation. Yet here she is knowing about it. Eric finally told me and asked if Carmen could get him some. So that's her worker. So now she's saying, yeah, I bought the pills, but that's because Eric asked me to.
Right.
Because as hard as he tried to hide this from me for years, all of a sudden, even though he's still supposedly taking these Mexico trips where he's just getting these drugs from these workers anytime he wants them, he had to ask me to ask Carmen to get him some, and so I did. Eric never wanted anyone to know he had an issue, especially get caught. He always wanted Kouri to go down for him. You gotta be fucking kidding me. When they traveled, Eric would put his drugs in Kouri's bag at the airlines right before they boarded. That way, if they were caught, Kouri would get in trouble, not him. Then once they got to wherever they were going, Eric would pull the drugs out of her bag and it would cause a huge fight. So hang on. I thought you said you never knew about the drugs.
Right. But all of a sudden you did know about the drugs because every time you guys would go on your mini trips, he would do this.
Okay. So, this isn't.
You really can't. Yeah. You can't ride two horses with one ass, Kouri.
Nope. She was pissed he would risk her going to jail for his drug use. He just would laugh about it. Eric couldn't ruin his image that he had drug issues, so he would do whatever he had to. Kouri has never done any type of pills. She didn't like them. Rarely would she consume THC, only if Eric begged her because it was a special occasion. Then she puts an asterisk. Reword this however he needs to make the point. Just include it all.
That's,
okay.
Leading the witness.
The connection has to be made with Mexico and drugs. Ronnie will have the messages to prove Eric confided in him about getting high. Did she, after he died, send a bunch of... I don't know what... I want to know what this is, and we don't know yet because the trial hasn't happened.
Right.
But I want to know. He can be short and to the point, but it has to be done. Upon information and belief, LOL. So she's trying to tell him, they're not going to know about this letter, obviously, because I'm so fucking smart. And you just, rely on that because you can't get in trouble. They never found pain pills or fentanyl in my house because he hid it in an allergy pill bottle in his work truck. And Cody emptied out the work truck within a week, so they were never found. When you talk to Ronnie about this, meet up with him in person. I worry sometimes your house and phone are bugged. Maybe drive down to SL and meet him after work without Bree, I think. Sky has to make this connection between Eric and Mexico because that makes the most sense in her mind. If it's Ronnie's information and belief about the conversation over football, she can use that as a connection. Tell Ronnie don't overanalyze it. It was a quick 2-minute conversation. LOL. Tell him I need him to do this. Bring me home and then we will get those damn bitches. I'm assuming she's talking about Eric's sisters.
Oh, 100% yes.
Also, please text Lotto or call. Who's Lotto?
Yeah.
Tell him do not text me anything about us doing things together ever. Like church, skiing trips, nothing that puts us together. It doesn't look good. What?
Well.
We're so close to the end. Let's push through. Have the conversation with Ronnie before he meets with Sky. Then tell him to tell Sky at the meeting about the conversation. Hang in there. We're almost there. Love you to the moon. Quote, or another thing, take vague notes of all of this so you remember before you walk the dog. How smart is she? Before you walk they'll never know.
Right.
If I say walk the dog.
That's not like the Men in Black, like, bing, where you just like erase somebody's memory.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh. Then she says, I saw a commercial yesterday, Utah Mortgage Relief. Google them, please. It's for people behind on their mortgage. Can you see if they can help at all on Marissa's house, please? I don't know who Marissa is. We have to get hers, yours, and Chelsea's taken care of ASAP. Try to go to that place in Camas. What about asking Lotto to do a loan solely in his name? So Lotto is close enough to you that he would do a loan in his name to to help with your mortgage, solely in his name and not have you on there. I know he can do a home equity line of credit on his house in Hideout. Not sure if he would, but I know he has like $1 million in equity. Maybe he just doesn't know about a HELOC. And then she puts in parentheses home equity. If he wants to help me, taking care of the loan is the most important. I don't give a shit about the Yotels. I don't know what that means.
Oh, yeah, I don't either.
Remember, I told you one way to get at Katie. Listen to this. Listen to this. Remember I told you one way to get at Katie, which is Eric's sister, is going through my phone and finding a picture of her girls, even if it's with the boys. Print 15 copies and send them out anonymously to different media companies. Obviously, don't use email to send the pictures so it's not traceable. She would be livid if it got out to the public. You would just have to do it sneakily and be careful. And she didn't say sneakily. She said sneakily because she's an author. She would try and trace it back to you. If not, no worries.
Oh my God.
Exclamation point. If not, no worries. I need you to out this woman's young children to the media, because that would bother her, that her children's pictures are plastered all over the fucking news, even if you've got to put my kids' faces, because right now everything I've seen of their kids are blurred.
Yeah.
Even if you need to blast my kids to the media. If not, no worries.
She's writing this as if she's a 13-year-old girl writing. Like the content is ridiculous and like awful, but it's also like she's like LOL.
I know. Tell him not to overanalyze it, LOL. And she's talking about it like, hey, I know you're going to Starbucks this morning before we hang out. If you can grab me, like an iced coffee, great. If not, no worries. I mean, I get
exactly.
It. It. You're talking about exploiting young children.
Yes.
Yeah. And like Sky is having my girls do the first interview with Good Morning America. Oh, her mom and somebody else, I think. Please tell Chelsea to bring up that he hasn't been to church in the 13 years she has known him. And Eric would brag to her about how much he drank and did pills in high school. Tell Kelsey to say, quote, Eric always wanted Kouri to go down for him, end quote. For example, he would put drugs in her suitcase when we would travel together. So if anyone got caught, it was Kouri. He would put it in the bag right before they left so Kouri didn't know. I mean, she rehashes all the same shit.
Yeah.
They'd argue about it. Kouri would get pissed. Tell Kelsey to say, this isn't her handwriting, so it can be difficult, to say how Eric didn't care and would just laugh about it and say, well, I can't get in trouble, as if it was okay that I got in trouble. Have Selma talk about Eric in Spain not being able to drink, so he was looking for drugs the entire time, and explain the drink the waitress gave him, and how I called his doctor and went to the pharmacy immediately. What the fuck is this?
To do with anything?
Yeah. I'm interested to see what did happen in Spain then, because we know that she tried to poison him in Greece, allegedly. So did something else happen in Spain as well?
Right.
Have Allie talk about how the sisters have always been jealous of, oh my God, listen to this shit. Have always been jealous of me because anything they could do, Kouri could do better. Being a mom, college, stay-at-home wife until she built $1 million company, a nice house, car, everything she had, they wanted. This comes down to jealousy, money, and Eric's partying that they don't want to acknowledge. And sadly, an accidental overdose.
Cut it out.
Yeah. Don't forget to work on the gun receipts. We want to file charges and let the prosecutor not do anything about it to use in our defense. Okay, and then, will you buy a box of Crest white strips? Open them up, put them in an envelope, and have Sky give them to me. You can tell her what's in the envelope. I'm sure she won't care. I'll make sure they can't be found in my cell. Like this letter. My teeth are yellow from so much coffee and tea all day. Sad face.
Ugh.
I love you. I love you. I love you. Hang in there. We're getting there. Slowly. You're the best mom in the whole world. I'm so lucky to have you. Okay.
Shut up.
Okay. So after this letter was found, the prosecutor said, okay, this is witness tampering. She's trying to get her mom to testify to shit that didn't happen. She's trying to get her brother Ronnie to testify to shit that didn't happen. She's trying to create a connection where there is not one to make it appear that Eric died of an accidental overdose and she had nothing to do with it and she had no motive in all the things. Kouri's response to this, though, was, oh my gosh, that was just notes I was taking for a fictional novel that I'm writing. I'm writing a fictional novel. It's so funny, actually, when you think about it, because I'm writing a fictional novel about me being in a Mexican prison and how it's so funny because you can tell that the whole thing is just totally made up, right? It's all made up. None of it's true. None of it makes any sense. It's so funny because it doesn't have anything to do with this case. It's all about this Mexican prison that me, obviously the main character, has ended up in. And all we do is drink coffee in Mexican prison. My teeth are getting yellow, so I have to get white strips brought into me in the Mexican prison.
But yeah, she never even mentions a Mexican prison in the letter.
No, and she's using everybody's names. She's using events that are tied to the case, like actual hearings, actual interviews that happened. They did go on Good Morning America. That happened. So you've got actual things that are happening in conjunction with this case.
Well, and she says the sisters don't want to believe that it was an accidental drug overdose.
Oh, and by the way, make sure you release pictures of Katie's young children.
Right.
Yeah. So there was a hearing as to whether or not this letter was going to be admissible in court because Kouri's team says, well, this is going to prejudice the jury. This is causing so much media attention that she's not going to be able to get a fair trial. You've got to dismiss this whole case. Can't do it. And I watched the hearing and the judge was like, first off, there was a lot of media attention around this case before this letter. I don't know if you know that, an inordinate amount, a shit ton. Mm-hmm. You were already going to have a really, really lengthy jury selection process, no matter what you did.
Yeah.
And the letter really didn't change that. It might add some length to the time of the jury selection.
Yeah.
But the defendant in this letter wrote things that are very specifically and easily tied to this case.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there is to it. And then we just recently found out that more information from Eric's autopsy results were released. There was a small amount of Seroquel found in Eric's system, which he did not have a prescription for. It's an antipsychotic drug, which Kouri was prescribed, and Eric didn't have a prescription.
Mm-hmm.
So that's curious. And as of right now, there's been no date for Kouri's trial set. It should be happening sometime early this year, hopefully. She's currently housed at the Summit County Jail, and we will update you as we can.
Yes. And we, of course, want to know what you guys think about all of this. But thank you guys for hanging out with us. We love you, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this case. Connect with us on Instagram or Facebook to continue the conversation.
Thanks for listening, and we will meet you back here next week.
Bye.
The theme song for the show is created and composed by Stephen Toby. You can find more of Stephen's work on SoundCloud.
Our logo was created by Sloan Williams of Sophisticated Crayon. You can find more of her work on Etsy. Visit us at killerqueenspodcast.com for merch and other info about the show.